Hello and welcome to Regen, the e-racing podcast. I'm your host Dino, and this week joining me we have Amylia Hilda from Alt Drive on the show. I've been looking forward to this one for a few weeks now because Alt Drive is something a little bit different. It is something behind the scenes, and it brings the drivers into a different light, especially one of my favourites, Andre Lotterer. Had no idea he was interested in photography, and yeah, there's a lot of interesting articles. So thank you for coming on the show, Amylia.
Thank you for having me.
So for the listeners that don't know, what is Alt Drive, and why have you decided that you would do this great magazine?
So before this, I was writing for another online sort of publication on Formula E, and I noticed that everyone was doing the same thing. Everyone was churning out the same race reports and the same news articles, and I thought there's so many more interesting things about the sport that you can write about. So I thought maybe I'll try something different and write more like lifestyle-based features. So I think the idea just kind of started off from there.
The drivers obviously race cars and they race them fast. And I mean, we don't really see them outside of that or outside of the racing sphere. So that's really cool that you can sort of show those things.
Yeah, and it's not just the drivers as well. I think I've always been interested in just the people behind not just Formula E, just like F1 or any other form of motorsport. And I think the engineers, the mechanics, I mean, they're all really interesting people, and they're really good at what they do. But I think there's just more to that than just what happens during a race. And I've been wanting to kind of get them out, not just talk to the drivers and, introduce people to these other people that make the sport what it is.
The weekend, especially, the larger motorsport series, they and the focus is definitely on that. So when did your love of motorsport start? Have you loved it for a while or fairly new and wanted to do something a little bit different with it? When did you first get into it?
I never really grew up being a fan of motorsport. I remember being aware of it growing up because I think it was 96 or 97 when Formula One first came to Sepang. So I'm Malaysian, and I live in Kuala Lumpur. And I remember at that time it was a big deal, but when I got older, the interest kind of it became something normal, I think, because F1 is something that happens every year here, and well, now it's stopped. But I've never really followed it closely until I started working in a woman's magazine a few years ago. And then I remember, because I had a column that I had to interview. Basically, it's a what men think column, and I had to interview male personalities. And I remember it was the second Formula E Putrajaya race, and I told, so I work in this publication, and some other titles also was part of that publication, and one of these men's magazine that I've always wanted to write for. And I told the editor that some Formula E people will be there, and I think Alain Prost will be there. So, I think it would be good if we could interview him. So I asked them if they could give me a accreditation under their publication, and they said okay. So the first interview I did was with Alain Prost in Putrajaya, and that was my first Formula E, my first ever motorsport weekend, and I just fell in love with it. I just loved the atmosphere, and I felt like everyone was so welcoming, and I guess it just started from there.
That's a pretty high-profile interview. Were you nervous with Alain?
Yeah, it's because I knew he was going to be there, and I thought it would be good for that publication because they always do like interviews with F1 legends, and so I thought, why not just take the opportunity and go, and I'm thankful that it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have a favorite series, drivers, tracks, locations? Where do you find that? What do you like the most?
I obviously haven't been to all the Formula E races because I don't travel to all the races like some of the journalists do. But I guess the favorite has to be Monaco. I mean, like, you don't really need much explanation why. But I also really liked Hong Kong, and it's a shame that we're not going there this year. But yeah, Monaco and Hong Kong, I think.
Yeah, Monaco, there's something about Monaco, especially in Formula One, a lot of people don't like it because it's the new cars and they're too big, and it's sort of, but I think especially in Formula E, it is something quite special, especially that you can still do overtaking in Formula E, and we saw that once Sam Bird he did it, and then they all sort of followed suit, and it's such a special location.
It is. It's just something special, and usually I just take advantage of taking an extra week to just stay in Nice and just relax. So I guess that makes it even more special.
Oh, sounds ideal.
Did you ask favorite drivers? Favorite?
Yeah. What are the favorite drivers?
I don't think I have one, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really. It depends, but I don't think I favor anyone. Which is, I know a bit, because sometimes when people ask me and I'm just like, I don't know. I know that's a bit like weird, but I don't think I'm like that kind of fan where I just support one team or one driver. I think for me it's just the overall environment of going to a race, and whoever wins, but it's just the excitement of being there.
Yeah, I am very hopeful that Auckland, New Zealand will hold a Formula E race at some point.
Well, hopefully.
Because they all are quite far away, so it's obviously hard for me to visit. But on drivers, I think especially Formula E, it's hard to have a favourite. You just love them all so much, and you think, well, yeah, I would be happy if any of these guys won. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, you just feel happy for whoever wins. Like, when it was Max, it was like, oh, I'm really happy for him. And then when it's who won recently before Max?
Bird's got a win, and also Sims.
Yeah, but you're just happy for, all of them. It's like they deserve it.
They do, yeah. I mean, they must work just tremendously hard.
Yeah.
I personally really enjoyed Behind the Lens with Andre Lotterer.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, it was great. And I had no idea he was into photography the way that he is.
Yeah.
And I love to see the drivers in a different light when they are outside of the car. How was that interview with Andre? Was it hard to get those sort of nuances out of him, or was he really forthcoming? He seems like a really cool guy, and what was that like?
It wasn't difficult at all. I was surprised that he was really excited to talk about it, because I think I interviewed him for that interview in Valencia during the preseason testing, and it was right after the sort of media press event, and I thought, oh, does he even want to talk about something other than racing? Because a lot of people were queuing up to get one-on-ones with him, and I remember talking to his to the Porsche PR, and I told her that I'm gonna ask him like slightly different questions. So could you maybe brief him before I just come out? And, so when did you start photography? And I didn't want to like come up to him with a random question and he'd be like, "What's wrong with this girl?" So he was really open to talking about it, and he showed me like some pictures. Like you could tell he was really proud of his work. And I think even Jean-Eric Verne shoots on a Leica as well. So that's why I asked him like who copied who, and according to him, Jeff copied him.
Yeah, so you hear that, Jeff? You're a copycat.
Yeah.
No, that was really cool. And you've got quite a few other different ones with recently Bottas and his rally weekend, Nico Prost as well, the Andros Trophy. And I just wanted to highlight also the How to Run a Formula E team. So Dilbag Gill, Susie Wolf, are you looking at getting all of the team bosses eventually, or are there certain ones that you want to capture those interviews?
Yeah, I hope so. If I could get all of them, it'll be amazing. But the idea behind that series at first was I wanted to attract maybe people who aren't motorsport fans, but who maybe are, let's say, people who own, or people who are a leader of a team. Like maybe they could learn something from how managing a Formula E team works and how that can relate to maybe their business or something. So I guess it's a bit like something what Monocle magazine does, if you're familiar to what they do. It's always like how you can learn from these CEOs or these entrepreneurs on how to just deal with life, I guess.
Yeah, I know like a lot of ex-Formula One drivers. One of the most high-profile, David Coulthard, and he does a lot of work with mindset and just helping, CEOs and business people become more focused and just really some interesting takeaways that can come over from motorsport and just striving for success in that. And there's a lot that transfers over, and he's obviously got a lot to give. So
a lot of ex-drivers or even drivers now, I mean, they have other businesses as well. They don't just, they're not just drivers. Like a lot of them are entrepreneurs, or they own restaurants or nightclubs. So it's quite interesting to kind of get, like these people, they're so smart. It's really interesting when you kind of look at them, just outside of the racetrack. Like, they're interesting people. They're more than just drivers. I think Nick Heidfeld is really into like fine dining and gourmet food and stuff.
Oh, wow. It'd be really cool to get Nick just on behind the scenes of what he's into, apart from his Mahindra work.
That would be good, yeah. I did interview him before, but for a different publication on his favorite dining spots in Zurich for the Zurich Eatery. And you could just tell that he was really interested. It's like a different side of him when he talks about food than when you just ask him about, his racing career.
Yeah, I guess those guys don't really get asked a lot outside of the race weekend, yeah.
Yeah, and they just get really excited, like, oh, about my business.
That is really cool that they open up and you can really see that they're passionate about it. The ePre travel guides as well. What sort of brought that on? Because they really go into some cool insight about the locations and what you can do there as well as the food. So yeah, I mean, you could run those through Nick and see if they're Nick Heidfeld approved. What made you decide to do something like that? They're obviously pretty unique and amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, like when I go to a race, normally when I try to book accommodation, I have no idea the distance between where I'm staying and where the racetrack is, and how do I get there? Can I save money on taxi? Can I take public transport? So I thought it would just be nice to do like a very lifestyle based travel guide, but associate it to the race. So I wanted to make sure that there's some info on how to get to the circuit, and nearby restaurants, nearby hotels. Are there taxis available, Uber? Because these are the things that I think, not just fans, maybe even personnel who go there to work, like they'd want to know. And if there's one place on the internet that they can go, specifically a travel guide for Formula E, I think it would be really cool. And also, I was hoping it would be a good way to get sponsors for hotels or something. And so far, all of the hotels I've contacted, they've been really happy about being featured. So, we are still very new, so hopefully maybe in the longer run, maybe we can run contests on win a 2-night stay in one of the hotels when you go to an E3, and maybe fans can save money on accommodation. But that's just my ambition for now.
I'm having a look at the Mexico one now, and there's an amazing looking coffee, some sort of croissant or something, nice juice in it. It just looks magical.
I think that's Pasteleria. They were really happy about being featured. And I think also about these travel guides, it's the pictures, the design of the layout that makes people get a bit excited about, going, if I go to this race, or I can go and get some tacos here. And then, it just creates a different experience. So you're not just looking forward to the race, but you're looking forward to exploring the city and whatever it has to offer.
Yeah, and I guess that would be really helpful for, obviously, people traveling to the city, but it also gives an insight into how easy it is to get around, and just, I think it would be, if I was traveling to a city, it really would help me. The hotel is located about 20 minutes by car to the Ypres circuit, and all of those small things that you worry about with where am I booking, and it just helps a lot. So definitely check that out, listeners. It's really, really good insight. And I think it's under Insights on the website.
Yeah, it's under Insights, yeah. And surprisingly, the travel guides are one of the most viewed articles on Alt Drive, actually. But I checked the demographics, and it's mostly people from those cities. So I think it's not just people who go to the races. I think it's actual people who are there on holiday, or maybe locals trying to, see what's new, what's there to try, new places to go to.
Yeah. So Alt Drive has a range of features, but what other features are you working on currently outside of the different insights? And
well, I'm not at liberty to share too much, but I'm looking outside of Formula E as well. So it's not just motorsport. Currently, I'm talking to a few people who do work for mobility companies. So people who help to design the tech that goes into EVs, like just engineers or sound engineers, and just trying to get to know these people and the kind of work they do to improve the way we get around.
I think that is something that I would be really interested in, just because and I know I live in Christchurch in New Zealand, and over the past year, let's say, electric scooters have taken over, and they are really handy. if you want to get somewhere quickly, there's a scooter over there, open an app, jump on, and you can race through the park or whatever and get to the other side of the city really quick. Will it be more that side of things or more on potentially different cars and other options?
At the moment, it's more cars, but I'm looking into talking to, like other forms of transport, like electric boats, I think. Like those, I don't know what you call it, like the ones that you usually see on Lake Como, those fancy looking thingies. Like there's electric versions available now.
Like a jet boat or something?
Yeah, I can't remember what's it called. Yeah, but they look like those fancy speedboat thingies, the wooden ones, like Riva Yacht and all those things.
Okay.
Electric versions now. Yeah, I think alt drive is also a bit more, I mean, not to sound like a snob, but we try to go a bit higher end.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I think thinking back to one of our earlier episodes, I think Jaguar has a electric boat.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So something a bit smaller than that, obviously, but on that sort of track.
Yeah, something along those lines. And well, it's not really like just going high end or anything. It's more like we also like to look at the aesthetics of a design. So alt drive is a bit more towards where we lean a bit more on artsy, like design. And I want to talk to more artists. I think I did one interview with one sculptor who does like this miniature Porsche scale models. So, more on, not so much on technical. It's just it's a lifestyle publication, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you won't really find too much of, like, will this product sell in the market and those kind of things. It's just like just something for when you have time for you to browse and sit and read and just get inspired, I guess.
Is there anything that you'd like to tell our listeners that would be good for them to know about alt drive?
Well, we've just published our first ever tech insights feature with Mahindra. I think, it's on the powertrains. So I'm hoping to make that more of a regular feature. So maybe look at other like tech insights that people might want to know, but obviously not just in Formula E, just like in mobility. So if you have any suggestions, please do let me know. Yeah,
absolutely. And where can people follow you? Where are all the socials?
So on Twitter, it's magazine_drive. And on Instagram, it's @altdrivemag. And I'm also on Facebook. I think it's just Alt Drive Magazine. As well as, I think that's all.
Yep. I mean, if you type in Alt Drive into Google, you can find it also alt-drivemagazine.com. Very good. Any other features or other bits that you would like to add into the chat?
Yeah, we're still really new, and I think right now not a lot of people know that we exist. So I guess now my concern is just to build the numbers and just keep producing the features, just to make a point that this is our voice, this is what we're known for, and hopefully people would start to recognize us and come to us for this kind of articles. So because we don't do race reports and we don't live tweet races, so I think we're a bit hidden, I guess, during race weekend. Like no one comes to us. like the analytics is flat during a race weekend. But on the Monday after, when we post our so I have this photo gallery, and it's called like 9 shots from the race weekend. So it's kind of like a photo essay, but just of highlights of what happened during the race. So if you're bored of reading the same old race reports, you can just come and look at pretty pictures and just update yourself over what happened.
That sounds ideal. I think I might do that from now on, instead of trying to scroll through several different. I mean, a lot of them do a brilliant job. Let's not take it away from them, because there are really in-depth publications.
Exactly why Alt Drive doesn't do race reports, because there are so many other brilliant people who've been doing it well.
Yeah, and I mean, for Regen, we talk about the show. We don't. I mean, during the weekend, I'm watching the race. I'm not tweeting about it. I am focused, and I mean, I couldn't multitask if you really wanted me to, so you wouldn't get much out of me anyway. I would probably forget. But yeah, that's really cool. I will keep an eye out for those as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. It has been awesome. I've learnt a lot, and yeah, I need to read a bit more of Alt Drive. I or somehow have missed the technical insight one with Mahindra, so that's going to be on the list for tomorrow to read up on.
Yeah, and it's quite long as well.
It does look lengthy, which is awesome.
Yeah, make sure you have a cup of tea as well. That's what Alt Drive is about. It's about taking time, having a cup of tea or coffee, and scrolling through all the articles over the weekend or whenever you have some free time. It's not to be rushed.
No, it's not a one and done.
No.
Okay, thank you, listeners. You can follow us on Twitter at Regen Racing and regenracingpodcast.com. We love to chat with everyone, so flick us an email, hello@regenracingpodcast.com. Chris will be back next time as we review the Mexico City E-Prix. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.